We have the 2026 division Patrick Owens Garden Super Southern Regionals. Alabama in the number 1 seed. I said I'm on overall seed. I'm not seeing like a quarter. They see all 32 teams. Number 1 Alabama. Or number Alabama. Beats South Carolina State. Only nothing in the run. In number 4. LSU defeats Virginia Tech 7-2. LSU is your winner. So Alabama hosts LSU. Then UCF fell off Florida State 2-1. Florida State fell off Stetson 8-3 game. Then UCF. Then Stetson and Florida State run Stetson. And Florida State forced game 0 with a 2-1 win over UCF. And then but UCF in game 7. They win 4-2 over Florida State. So UCF is a regional winner. They'll take on UCLA. UCLA run Rose South Carolina 15-1 in 6. Arkansas your winners over South Florida 10-2 as they run Rose South Florida in 6. South Florida the American champions. That's the fight. They just cut one. And Duke fell to Arizona and run 10-1 in 6. And they run Road Marshall, and then they had a win twice over Arizona, and they beat Arizona 8-6 and 9-4 in game 7. And Oklahoma State defeated Stanford 11-5. Oklahoma State had one Oklahoma 6, but Stanford gave up. And Nebraska played a tough Grand Canyon team out of the Mountain West, but just couldn't do it. They just couldn't. And the UCLA and UCF runs on Duke and Nebraska and Oklahoma State. Down the right side we have Oklahoma advance with 8-1 over Michigan out of the Eugene region. Mississippi State defeats St. Mary's 5-0. St. Mary's or Mississippi State was the regional winner as they knocked Oregon to losers elimination portion. But St. Mary's covered only 5-4. Typically, usually you don't see the unseeded teams. Usually you don't see the unseeded teams advance to the Super Regional. I mean, you could do see upsets, but typically the regional, you typically usually go to either game 7 or the win in game 6 if they the C team falls for them. But still, that's kind of a fluke. But Mississippi State did it, and they won over the series go for before. Oregon could even before it says Oregon that made a regional final. So Oregon could have really won both. They made regional final 1 point, but they did not. They lost the game 5. Then we have Florida. They'll take on Texas Tech as Texas Tech beat almost 14-2 in dominating fashion in 5. And Florida, number 2 Florida, by Georgia Tech they played. And they won Georgia Tech in game 3 on Saturday in the region in game 6. Nevada 2. Number 2 Tennessee dominates Virginia 5-1. And then Georgia shuts out Clemson 5-0. And then Texas and Arizona State. They run road Texas in 5 minutes. 9-1. That was the ABC region. ABC on Sunday was going to show game 7 of an NBA game. They were either going to show game 7 of the Pistons Cavaliers series, or they were going to show game 7 of the Spurs Timberwolves series. One of the 2 games. But since Amazon, they gave the MVP announcement to Amazon Prime, the official one, and they were announced before the game started. And they were going to give Amazon Prime its final game of the season. Look at that game because NBC and ESPN. NBC is showing every game of their Western. They're splitting one of the conference finals on NBC. One of them is on ESPN every year with the new deal. But Prime is only getting games up to the second round. They're not getting the conference finals. Their second tier contract. They get that one conference finals every year. And then you don't get the NBA finals. They're not getting the NBA finals, so let's see with ESPN. But so they get 2 games in this. Arizona State, that went up for Arizona State 16. They put that ABC in that time slot. And they probably wanted the money from the ad revenue. And they're like, well, this one of these games will just be shown on ESPN Plus anyways. You might as well put it on ABC, That was awesome, It's the first regional game ever. But I wouldn't be surprised if more games do that if there's not NHL or NBA, on like Saturday nights. Like NHL ends earlier or NBA ends earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if they had regional games of of super regionals, of like baseball. I know they already had a few games of Women's College World Series for football. They already did. They have games. They have like Game 7, which is a Saturday afternoon game, like a winners bracket game, and then they have Game 9 of the Women's College World Series, which is an elimination game. Well, the brackets. So, which is awesome. I'm surprised they don't have a Game 8, Game 10 either, because just for something to fill time. Like maybe not Game 10 because that's a Sunday night game, but Game 8, Saturday night game. I'm surprised they don't. But should be back to Easter. But but they're putting a super regional game on ABC though before other sports scores like UFL, I believe it is. So on Saturday, so they're putting a super regional on there, one super regional game, which is awesome. Instead of having, before they'd have every Saturday super regional game on ESPN, they'd have two, you'd have a super regional for Thursday, and they have 2 on Thursday, then offset 8, all of them pretty much on ESPN2. Yeah, about one essentially on ESPN. Yeah, one on ESPN, and the rest will be on ESPN or because of the NBA conference finals and NBA and NHL. They have that, and then right now they're having one on ABC, and the rest are on ESPN. And then one is on ESPN2. One is on ESPN2. I like that, because network TV, like people are ditching cable, like ESPN. People are ditching like cable, or if they're not ditching cable, they're either ditching cable or they're having like streaming services like Sling, like Hulu plus Live TV, or ditching for like YouTube TV, like streaming services like cable TV streaming services, or like ones like or they're like having DirecTV Dish Network basically, but they're having through their TV providers. They're like having it like they're dropping like the more expensive channels and they're only having like the basic tier channels. So I like that because Arizona State would actually, just because it's on ABC, you know, like, hey, I don't want to see softball. I'm like over there fan. I like softball, you know. I don't see it that often. I'm gonna tune in, you know, because like a Sunday afternoon, what's there? There's either golf. You could watch Indy 500 or any episode of qualifying in it. But that's not big of a draw in person or even on TV as the race itself. And then what did NBC have? Like NBC had WNBA, and they had, I think, like paid programming actually, like random fillers, paid programming, random other filler stuff. Yeah, ABC was like, oh yeah, like ESPN still has like the majority of the sports contracts. So like, well, we can just flex in a lot of things, you know. You know, flex in softball, you know. It's like a no-brainer, you know. And then us, Texas, beats Baylor 7-0. So it's they move in. So one squad is super story of Alabama LSU as LSC series. UCF of the Big Ten, UCF of the Big 12, Arkansas LSC, Duke of the ACC. And this is going to be really intriguing. Nebraska out of the Big Ten, and Oklahoma State out of the Big 12. That's very interesting. I'm looking forward to this one. That's like one of the best series of the week, probably. And we have Oklahoma out of the SEC, Mississippi State, the SEC, LSC, Super Joy, and then Florida, LSC, Texas Tech out of the Big 12. Now that's going to be very entertaining as well. And we have the third and final LSC series, Tennessee and Georgia, and Texas of the SEC, University of the Big 12. I think Nebraska, Oklahoma State. If you had to pick just one, if you could only watch one Super Regional, which one would you be? That would be Nebraska, Oklahoma State for me. And I would not be surprised if Nebraska, Oklahoma State ends up being the regional. That ends up being on ABC, the Super Regional game. And ends up being on ABC. I would not be surprised by that. I would not.